Hi. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies, and comrades, I hope you're doing well. This is Kenyan Revolutionary for another quick session. It's raining wherever I am, so I will be very brief once we start pause. But anyway, I just took a break to bring you this live session. A real quick review on Kenyan politics in general. I want to concentrate on this news. As you know, today, Ruto was in Kisumu with none other than Raila Odinga. Okay. And Raila, it is reported that he donated 5 acres of land for the housing, affordable housing projects. Remember, these guys are building this affordable house stuff all across the nation. And we'll get to that. I'll just speak on that. And also, we'll touch on what's going on across the world. Wamunyoro is claiming he wants compensation for the past 5 years when he was a DP. Um, that's another news. Um, what's happening? A little bit of the World Bank. Some guy made a video about what World Bank wants uh, people who make less than 166,000 Kenyan shillings per annum to pay taxes. Okay, this is an order from World Bank, and they are urging Ruto's government to implement this, put it on their finance bill so that it can pass. I've been making videos about World Bank and how the globalist agenda, the globalists are using institutions like World Bank and so forth, to actually impose their agenda through the governments that they enter into these deals, especially if they give them or force them or coerce them in a very nice way to take these loans that these emerging economies usually fall for, whether unwillingly or through blackmail. We'll get into that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and comrades, if this is your first time in this channel and you're wondering what this channel is all about, we talk about Kenyan politics and world politics as it relates to Kenya. So, karibu sana, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you've already subscribed, you know the first order of business. Go ahead and like the video. Like the video. That's the first order of business. So like the video so we can get into it. Okay? So let's get to the topic at hand. I want to start with the Raila Odinga story because I think it makes a lot of it's a very interesting news development. Now today Ruto was in Kisumu and alipokewa na shangwe kwa shangwe na vigelegele. Now I don't know if that's nini kupokewa kwake kwa hiyo kwa shangwe na vigelegele was genuine, or what those people paid, or they were just happy to see their president, or whatever the case is. I don't know. I can't really tell. But anyway, Raila Odinga was also there, present. And again, as news have reported, that Raila Odinga has donated 5 acres of land for these government affordable houses to be built on that land. Okay. Now, a lot of people are questioning the Raila Odinga's gesture here. Raila Odinga is known to be not somebody who donates stuff. He's not a giver, so to speak. Okay. For those of you who have been in the inner workings of ODM or just know the guy, they know that this guy is not a giver. He doesn't give things just for free. Okay. And news, people have started posting, and the replies, especially now, there was a gentleman, something. What's his name? Dominico Mondi, a journalist who wrote back in January. He mentioned some guy called Suleiman, who was looking into. He's a member of the IALA or whatever the case is, IALA MP or whatever the case is, but his name is a businessman or whatever the case is. His name is Suleiman, who was looking into investing into this whole affordable housing thing in Kisumu, and that this guy has ties to Raila Odinga. Okay, he's looking to get a business deal in this affordable housing thing along with Odinga. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is this: Raila Odinga, with the news coming out that he's donating these 5 acres of land, it's not done out of a good heart. That is what most Kenyans are suspecting, because, as I mentioned, they even posted side by side that news piece that Dominic Omondi wrote about this guy called Suleiman, who struck a deal to, get into this business of, being involved in this affordable housing stuff in Kisumu, okay, with Raila Odinga. So it seems like, and a lot of people are saying that the deal is, if this housing, affordable housing stuff is built on this donated land that Raila Odinga has donated, the trick is, this is how it usually works. The affordable housing will be built on this land that Raila donated. But remember, Raila Odinga probably won't give up the title deed. He will stay with the deed. Then after 3 years, 3 years down the line, once people move into these houses, he will show up in court or say, hey, listen, I'm actually the landowner, so I need to get a percentage of whatever the case is, or collect the rent, or whatever the case is. It's a business deal, okay? And remember, guys, this is not a new phenomenon. This is not a new controversy, okay? These are the kind of questions that people were asking. Remember last year, before the finance bill, before the finance bill was passed, when people were having this discussion about affordable housing, and how a lot of people felt like, listen, counties government, you cannot just give land to the government to build these houses and all that stuff, and the investors who come in, they do not have risk on their part, because remember, the government provides land, provides material of this building this affordable housing at low rates, just to to encourage investors to help build this whole building, whatever the case is. And after they build it, okay, they sell it back to the government at whatever price they decide, okay? So a lot of people are arguing that this affordable housing, this PPP arrangement in this affordable housing project is not fair, because it seems like the taxpayers are bearing most of the risk, but the investors, the private sector that are coming in and claiming they want to build this project, whatever, they do not have any risk on their side. So it's not a balanced PPP. It's not a balanced public-private whatever arrangement. Okay, so that's what. And classic example is this Raila Odinga situation. Again, when I heard that Raila Odinga is donating 5 acres of land, I was like, this really, I mean, I don't remember the last time I had Raila Odinga donated anything to anybody, okay, besides his or her kids or relatives, okay? Karibu sana walalahoi wenzangu, tunaibiwa tu wa Kenya, mnaambiwa hizi housing ni scam, hamski. Now, you see, karibu sana Shir Mariam, usininyime like. So you see how this is happening. This affordable housing, it's starting to seem like it's a scam. And the people, a scam in this way, that these very people in the government are making huge deals in it, because they will start a company. I'm just using an example. They'll start a company posing as these private investors, to get this contract of building this affordable housing buildings, okay? Then they mark their own prices, probably overprice them, sell it back to the government for gazillions of Kenyan shillings, okay? And make hefty profits, okay? Then, that's what I'm saying. In this Raila Odinga announcement of him saying that he wants to, he's donating this 5 acres, people are asking questions, because there was actually an article that was written by this journalist, I think it was in The Nation or whatever the case is, called Dominic Omondi, who wrote about as Mr. Suleiman, who is, I think, is a member of parliament of Yala, who had struck a deal with Raila Odinga so that they can have a hand in the housing, affordable housing project that's going to be undertaken in Kisumu. So long behold, when we had this news, our antennas went up and people are discussing, because it seems like someone will be profiting in this thing. Like I said, Raila Odinga is not, this guy is nothing but a businessman. He has his political credential. It's so unfortunate that people is treated with such veneration. This guy is nothing much but a con man. A con man. He's built his billions by making deals in government, okay, and using his supporters as leverage to get whatever he wants from their government, okay. Granted that he has won elections before, but I think he personally would rather stay outside of the government rather than be the president, because he stands to make more money outside as playing the opposition than actually being the president, okay? That's why I don't believe this guy. This guy has calmed Kenyans for a long, long time. The biggest political con man in the history of Kenya, all right? So we'll keep our eyes on that as more news, unravels on this news that Raila Odinga is involved, is donating 5 acres. I'm telling you, this guy, it's an interesting development. Now, I want to touch on something that I failed to touch on. I didn't have an opportunity to talk about. Today we saw Beatrice Elachi speaking about how social media should be regulated. He's saying that the youth, the Kenyan Gen Zs, are misusing the social media by the vile videos that people are making, easy mambos and nudity and all this stuff. But it's a ploy by this lady. She was asked why she wanted this thing regulated, and she mentioned how the Gen Zs were attacking her when her son was reportedly killed or died, or whatever. I think he died in a road accident a few months ago. And people are not feeling sorry for her and were really saying not mean things. Now, that is the reality of social media. I believe that the social media should not be regulated. It should not be regulated. That's one space where people can freely discuss, say whatever they want, say how they feel without the fear of, mtu kukupiga or whatever the case. Because if you try to speak publicly about what you're saying, the government can easily send people to, disrupt the assembly or do whatever. So yesterday we saw a very, very funny thing happening. The prayer meeting where Elachi was praying and Ruto also asked for forgiveness. It was a half-hearted apology to the Kenyan people. He was like, oh, if I've wronged you, please forgive me. It's sort of like the way Moi was making that apology before he left, once he lost the elections, when he was giving up power, when he said, if anybody have offended anyone, please forgive me. Of course, that was a sorry excuse because, Moi had been ruling for 24 years, okay? And we know the torture and the social degradation, the economy, how the economy fell under Moi, and the killings, the disappearance, the people who were killed under his regime. He cannot come out after 24 years and say, oh, if I've offended anyone, please forgive me, okay? That was an affront to the Kenyan people. Same way, Ruto was out there. He said that if anybody has offended him, please forgive him. Of course, the Gen Z did not take that light. The funny thing is, Museveni in Uganda, Museveni and his wife also stood up, and they were reading some, I don't know, Bible verses or whatever the case is. But Museveni also, they had a joint speech with his wife, and they read an apology to the Ugandan people saying, Uganda, please forgive us if we have done anything wrong. And of course, the Ugandans also threw back a middle finger to him and told him, hey, listen, if you're really serious about an apology, then how about you let's Besigye free, okay? And improve the economy and stop muzzling free speech and so forth, so forth. So these are the things that it was so funny that it was the same day. It was the same day when these despots are actually asking for an apology. Now, some people are asking, could it be that they know something that we, the general public, do not know? Is it signs that maybe their time is up? Okay, or they smell, or they fear, or they sense that more than likely, very soon, there might be maybe a popular revolution, maybe a coup d'etat. We don't know, but for Museveni, I think I don't know. I don't know. Let me not comment on Uganda because I don't know the intricate details, the inner workings of the Ugandan politics. But in Kenya, I would say that that's a possibility. That's a possibility. But this is also tied in, as I mentioned, we saw the general of AFRICOM, US AFRICOM, Michael Langley, who made his way to Nairobi, where they were having that security meeting with all the heads, the army generals of different countries were converged in Nairobi discussing the security of the area, also East African area, okay? And I kept on telling you guys, I won't repeat the whole thing, but I just make this statement that it's an interesting development because, like I said, Kenya is volatile. Politically, it's a volatile nation. You never know. Anything can happen. So maybe they're checking Kariri's temperature to make sure that he's not having any ideas of any kind of military coup d'etat, given the fact that West Africa has also, we've had a wave of coups in West Africa. So maybe the NATO and the West are coming to East Africa to make sure that their subordinates, their colonial puppets are in line, are not thinking of the unthinkable, any possibility of a military coup d'etat. So I think that's what it is. Or maybe they want to change the guard. Listen to me. This is my theory here. This is my theory, and listen to me carefully. Listen to me. Tegeni Maskio, please like this video, share, comment, and subscribe, and put the notification on. Listen to what I think what is happening today. The general mood in Africa is that most African nations, the people are tired of the leadership in place because of the economic stagnation, the obvious globalist agenda that is being shoved down their throats, the oppression, this corruption, all that, isms and schisms that we've watched, the suffering that people have suffered for a long time. They've seen lack of development. Okay, being a politician just means becoming corrupt and being an overnight millionaire. So when this wave of military coup d'etat, starting with the Sahel nations, okay, Ibrahim Traore, okay, in Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, okay. Now I think the West are responding, since they know that the Sahel nation are tied to the East with Russia, or whatever the case is, for their protection. That's why you see Ibrahim Traore still is surviving. And they're turning on the East with the BRICS nations. So what I think is happening is this. The West are trying to do what they did in Guinea. Remember? When the Sahel nations, okay, when Burkina Faso had a coup d'etat, and Ibrahim Traore came to power, then Niger followed suit, then Mali followed suit. What the French did, because they were afraid of losing West Africa in just within 1 month or 1 year. So what they did, they had a fake coup d'etat in, is it Gambia or Guinea? Guinea, with that French general that took out that dictator who was there, the son of that great dictator. Okay, in Guinea, I believe it's Guinea. Okay, they took over to have a fake revolution, coup d'etat, but people could tell because the guy is married to a French woman, and people are not buying that coup d'etat. And he has also maintained relationship with the West, with France. Okay, he even went to France, met Macron, and so people are not buying into the. So what I suspect is happening in East Africa What I believe might be the plan, and I might be wrong, time will only tell, okay? I think since there's heavy talk of a revolution in Eastern Africa, what the West wants to do, okay, since they know the people of East Africa are tired of their leaders, of these puppets, Western puppets, and they're talking about a possible revolution, what they're doing is they want to fool the people that, yes, you want a coup d'etat? There will be a coup d'etat. There'll be a revolution. So they might sponsor, okay, a fake revolution or a fake coup d'etat. Since the people are tired of their leadership, they shall sponsor a popular revolution to remove maybe Ruto and Museveni, and also Suluhu. Okay, you saw Suluhu. Suluhu is kind of, she's working her way to win Tanzanians' hearts. But what I'm saying is this: they might orchestrate and stage finance and offer technical support for a orchestrated fake revolution in Kenya to remove Kasongo, only to replace him with somebody like Matiang'i. Same thing in Uganda. They might start, finance, orchestrate, okay, a coup d'etat or a popular revolution to remove Museveni, and the people shall rejoice once Museveni leaves, saying, hey, we are out of dictatorship after 39 years of oppression, only to be replaced with another Western stooge. It will take time for the people to realize that the person who have taken over is actually a stooge. But for the meantime, it will buy them time for the continuation of this globalist agenda on East Africa. You understand what I'm saying? So that might be a reason. You see Matiang'i. Matiang'i is currently not in Kenya. He's in I think he's in California, somewhere else, probably taking notes and being advised of how he might come and become the next president. I doubt that will happen, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So in summation, what I'm trying to say is this: we might have a fake popular revolution or a military coup d'etat in Eastern Africa, where people might be fooled that, oh, finally, we've had a revolution. Museveni is out after 39 years of oppression, only to replace him with another colonial stooge. Same thing with Kasongo. Okay, that's why you have to be very careful when you listen to anyone who's talking about, the elections 2027 or a revolution. See what they're about. If it's not about a whole systematic change, the culture of impunity, the culture of corruption, tribalism, recycling people who are proven to be, part of the problem, like the Matiang'is, the Martha Karuas, the Uhurus, the Railas, okay, and all these people, Tatas. You can't have these people become the heads of state while we know that these guys have been in this system, benefited from it. You understand what I'm saying? So we have to be very vigilant when we are watching these guys. It might not be what you think it is. That's why I gave you the example of that country, Guinea, if I'm not wrong, where when the Sahel nations were having their coup d'etat, the French also facilitated a coup d'etat in Guinea for the general to take over and become the head of the state, only for this general to be just a replacement to the previous colonial puppet. No difference. The policies are the same, the agenda is still the same, the people are still oppressed. But the people were excited for a moment, thinking that finally liberation is here, only to realize that this guy was actually a faker. So that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. So there has to be something brewing in this whole conference with Tony Blair and General Michael Langley and the others, okay? We have to watch what's going to happen. And in my suspicion, the number one person who they want to take out is Suluhu, for the reasons that I gave you guys on my previous video. Okay? Now you see that with if you go to my X on my timeline, I've retweeted, okay? One gentleman, a young man, who was explaining how World Bank wants more taxation, more Kenyans taxed. Already you thought the taxation imezidi, they want to tax you more. And like I've explained to you guys, I told you about a book called The Silent Coup, how corporate world actually gets the private sector, the corporations, multinational corporations are actually usurping individual countries' sovereignty. How do they do that? They go to these nations and they enter into these deals. You sign a deal, okay? And this is a World Bank machinations. It's a deal through the World Bank, where the World Bank, they try to tell these individual nations, like let's say, for example, Kenya. They tell them that, hey, we are, of course, World Bank, their whole mantra is, we are trying to eliminate poverty in the world, okay? So they tell a country like Kenya that in order to quicken this process of eliminating poverty, you'll need the private sector to work hand in hand with the government to eradicate poverty. So in order to do so, they get you to sign an agreement. Some countries also refuse this agreement, but anyway, nevertheless, they get you. This was started in 1960s when World Bank started this whole nonsense. So they have countries sign these agreements with the World Bank, where if you sign this agreement, there are countries, with the World Bank, there are corporations, foreign and local, most of them foreign, that will come and strike a deal, for example, with Kenya, to mine gold for the next 5 years, okay? And by the way, if you decide to kick them out before those 5 years are done, they can take the state to court. They can go to court. The court is in Washington, D.C. It's called ICSID, International Courts of Investor-State Disputes. Okay, and you can read. There's a different countries and so many countries that have been in here. South Africa was sued by an Italian company for 100 million because South Africa decided to not give that mining company permits to mine diamonds, okay, as agreed before. Okay, there's so many skills. Guatemala with a Canadian company called Oceana. Okay, they kicked out that company because the Guatemalan people were complaining that mining in the area was polluting the rivers of the area, which was affecting the people, their people's health. So they took them to court in Washington, D.C. Okay, but anyway, the point I'm trying to make is this: that World Bank, this is how the colonialists, isn't it funny that they started this whole deal in the 1960s If you remember, in the 1960s, that's when majority of African countries were actually gaining their independence, their so-called independence. Remember that? In the 60s is when a lot of African countries were getting their independence, so-called independence. But it was a shift in tactic, because colonialism is about controlling a people's sovereignty and their resources. It's not different from, it actually takes time. It started as slavery. Slavery is the direct, forcefully forcing a people to work in order for you can benefit. Okay? Then there was feudalism, where, you know, you lived your life, but in some days, in a certain times, you are obligated by law to go work for the king or queen, for the state, or whatever the case is. Okay? Then now we have capitalism, where you're forced. They don't force you, but the circumstances, in order for you to survive, you have to go find a job, sacrifice 40 hours of your week for a certain corporation that will make billions in exchange for your time and skills and your effort, money, energy. Okay? Now, on a global scale, since they could not colonize, colonization was not sustainable for the long term, they had to replace that with what? With these deals, okay, through the World Bank. So they tell you, hey, you want to be part of UN? Okay, fine. Come, you join UN, Security Council, or whatever the case is, where you shall have a say. But in order to do that, sign this deal. And these deals, again, they are sold to you as a way of developing your nation. They'll say, hey, Kenya is not developed. You need more railways. Your infrastructure are not up to par. You need more roads. So you sign this deal. Ruto doesn't care because, you know, he's making billions out of it. He's stealing from the Ninio. And the head of this nation, that's why I'm telling you, most of these countries, why do you have puppets, political, these puppets, these colonial puppets as the head of states in Africa? They're handpicked, they're rigged to win these elections. It's not a coincidence, it's not by accident. These people cannot win any election fair and square. They're not chosen by the people, they're chosen by this World Bank. World Bank is essentially owned by the people who run these multi-corporations that you see running around in the world. Corporations have taken over globally. That's why you see farmers in Germany are fighting them. Farmers in Dutch, Holland are fighting them. Because they want to make a rule that benefits these corporations, usurping the sovereign rights of a nation. And that's what they're using in Africa, where you have these mining companies and all sorts of companies coming through, suing these nation states if they don't oblige. It's interesting. But anyway, that's a topic for another day. I just wanted to square off and talk about Raila Odinga, who donated 5 acres of land for affordable housing project. And people brought up that article that was written by Dominic Omondi about his involvement with this guy called Suleiman, who is a member of the IALA, who had struck a deal with them so that they can be involved in the investments in this affordable housing in Kisumu in particular. This was reported in January, but now it's becoming clear, especially with the advent of Raila Odinga announcing that he will donate 5 acres of land in Kisumu. Today you saw that he was cheering on, he was trying to cheer his people on, cheer the Kisumu people on. That's why I'm saying This is a very, 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 in Kenya, a revolution is a very, people's revolution is very hard. Lastly, before I finish, I want to speak about the death of Ngugi wa Thiong'o. Ngugi wa Thiong'o. This is a guy who's known to be writing wonderful literature, books. Okay? I don't know him personally. I heard his name growing up. I never read one or two of his books. I've never read any of his books. And a lot of people are wishing him, wishing his family, condoling with the family, wishing the family, condolences to his family. But I was very interested in what Francis Gaito wrote. He wrote a piece on his website about Ngugi wa Thiong'o and likened him with present day social media activists, the Hanifas, the Makau Mutuas. In his view, in Gaito's view, he said that Ngugi wa Thiong'o was someone who wrote about the oppression of Kenyan people, but he never really actually told us how we can get out of it. He argues that this guy was basically gaslighting people. He was speaking your language, just like the Hanifas and the Omtatas and all this. Erika Yaga is saying, I told you guys he's sick. I don't know. Let me tell you one thing I've learned, Erika Yaga and others who might think. One thing I learned about life is the people who society actually call crazy or sick or whatever, they always turn out to be the truth tellers. I'm not saying Gaito is right on this issue because, in all fairness, I never did my research or know much about Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I just knew he was a Kenyan writer, renowned Kenyan writer, who've written wonderful books. I've never done my research on him, so I do not know. I haven't made up my mind on who he actually, if he was a true revolutionary or not. I don't know. I'm just telling you, given the fact that you've written that Gaito is sick, I think Gaito is always on point on most of the issues. And like I said, all these people that they usually call crazy, like Migona, Gaito, and a few others, who are very uncompromising when it comes to how they see things, I usually find with time, they are proven right. They are proven to be actually the guys who are telling the truth about an issue. Now, Gaito, I'm assuming, did his research. He's a little bit older than me or older than me. Probably read some of Ngugi wa Thiong'o's books, knows more about the author than I do. Wrote a piece on him and said, this guy, as much as he's respected and loved and all that stuff, he was more like the Hanifas of this world. Okay, the present day Hanifa. Like I said, and he gave an example how if you see all these people, the Gen Z, the NIS paid activists who are part of the Gen Z revolutionary movement, but they had a different goal. They swayed the Gen Zs away from the goal that was to remove Ruto and revolutionize the whole system. And he mentioned the same thing with Ngugi wa Thiong'o, mentioning how Ngugi wa Thiong'o was backed by the CIA, paid to write and persuade the unsuspecting readers at the time during the Cold War to move away from socialism or communism Remember the whole thing, big war during the Soviet Union versus USA in the 80s, especially in the early 90s, before the fall of the Berlin Wall. There was this competition between communism versus capitalism. Okay, the Americans was trying to export capitalism across the world, and the Russians were maintaining the communist system, or at least that's what they were selling. So there was a competing, not only on the arm race, but also on ideological, social, economic philosophy. Okay, that was the competition. So now Gaito says that Ngugi wa Thiong'o, after he fled from Moi's regime, he went up there in the US and started writing more about, capitalism, or supporting the US, basically. So that's Gaito's view of things. And he, like I said, he likened him to the present day Hanifas of this world, or Kiom Tatas of this world, the people who we celebrate as the faces of Gen Zs. But if you look at what they're advocating for, they're not really for the revolution of the system. Like I usually say, everyone that's running for president running for president in 2027 or 2026, whichever day we are going to hold elections, they are not interested in the total overhaul of the system. These are people who just want a name for themselves. They want a name. Oh, I'm the president. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I ran for president. Oh, they're just gunning for the next political coalition that's going to be post-elections in 2027 or 2020, whatever. They're not serious about a total overhaul of the system. I've made that argument 1,000 times. And if you see these people, the Hanifas, the faces, the people who are being paraded in your face when you watch this Gideri media, whether it's NTV or Standard or whatever the case is, it's the same folks. They never bring new people with different ideas. Why can't they host more of Migunas and Francis Gaitos to challenge the people with the same narrative who are talking about 2027? You cannot have a total overhaul of the system by using the very system to choose a leader or to choose who is going to represent you. The game is already rigged. That's why I tell you, for those people who are telling you to take IDs, you're not going to get anywhere. Hata mchukue kura bilioni 6. Whoever you're going to choose, because the choices you have are all compromised. Gachagua is compromised. Ruto ndio huyo, you know him. Matiang'i, you know him. Raila ni huyo. You think those people, whether you remove Ruto and you put Matiang'i, you think you're going to have real change? No, you're not. Somebody made a joke last time when I was here in live, said, when Matiang'i become president, 2 months after Matiang'i is the president, mtaanza kusema Matiang'i must go. Mtaanza kuimba Matiang'i must go tena. 2 months into Matiang'i's administration. Just like Ruto. Ruto, we warned you. Ruto tulijua. Ruto is corrupt. I never supported him. He won fair and square. But still, was I expecting any real change? To me, I wanted to see if he was going... If I say this, if Ruto was going to arrest Uhuru Kenyatta for the atrocities that Uhuru Kenyatta committed during his tenure and the previous presidents, then I would say, okay, he's on the right track. But how can he arrest his partner in crime? He can't. So expect this game to go on as long as it will last. And it will last as long as you let it last. Because you don't want to stand up and remove these people. You have the power to remove them. You, yes, you. But they're very busy. They're very busy. That's why you see, we have Morara who is paid over here. Kuna wakina Hanifa, na kuna Boniface Mwangi huko ndio anafanya hizo visanga maba alipigwa sijui alikuwa tortured. Then there's Gachagua who will come here with the Mount Kenya angle. Then there's Conman from Opoda who is coming here with his affordable housing nonsense. Then there's the Martha Karua who is pretending to be saving the whole East Africa. Then there's Kalonzo who is in Seikuru today with Gachagua who is playing here. Yani mmekuwa scatter. Then there's Wamalwa. Then there's the Tawe in Trans Nzoia there. Tawe. Then there's Selassia who is anavuta bangi na anapeleka. Mnapelekwa huku mnavurugwa. Kama makuku. Kama kondoo aliyepotea. Mnavurugwa left and right and center. That is their aim. Na mtavurugwa hivi. Hata mweke Selassie akwae president, hata huyo Morara huyo mnataka akwae president. There will be no change. Because hawa ni watu wa system. Wamewekwa kwa system. They are benefiting from this system. And they are taking their orders from where? Huko, majuu. So mnavurugwa. Watu wa Karua ndio hawa, watu wa Raila ndio wale, watu wa Gachagua ndio pale, watu wa sijui unatembea ndio pale, watu wa hata washikane pamoja wapi? System ni ile. Mtakaa hapo na ukabila, mtakaa hapo na sijui affordable housing za sijui nini. Mtakaa hapo na corruption, abduction, extrajudicial killings na hizo ukarabati mingi. Na mtaendelea mahali. Kwa sababu hamuelewi kwamba hii system imeoza. It has to be replaced, all of it. Kila mtu, wakina Matiang'i wapelekwe kamiti. Raila kamiti. Martha Karua kamiti. Ruto kamiti. Natembea kamiti. Gachagua kamiti. All of them. Go look. People always wanalialia party. Oh, Kenya was with Singapore. Singapore left us. We can be like Singapore. Go look at what Singapore did in order for them to get to where they are. And go listen to Ninio. The president is still alive. Huyo jamaa aliwatoa hapo kwa Ninio. He's still alive and he always gives speeches. He's, I think, 90-something years old. Alisema the first thing he had to do was to make sure that corrupt officials walikuwa na nyongwa. How did China become a superpower? How did China become a superpower? Niambie. Because before, China, even communist or whatever, China was a hardworking people. But kulikuwa na corruption. Hata even within that communist party. Kulikuwa na corruption. Lakini walikuja wakasema, we can't have a society where watu wanaibaiba and they're becoming billionaires to a point where they're lording over us. Raila Odinga has been conning Kenyans. Look at how they were clapping at him when he went to Kisumu. That is mental colonization. You're clapping at Raila like that. And Ruto. People who have wamewaua, wamewachinja. Is it not Ruto's administration that was killing people in Nyalenda? Is it not Raila Odinga who was telling you to go out there mkamaandamani na mnapigwa bunduki? Nyinyi mshakufa, you've buried your kids, wanakuja wanaambia affordable housing ya upuzi, na you are clapping with vigor as if these people are going to bring you heaven. Alafu Raila na wadanganya na Kijaluo na waambia ati, oh, we know where we are going. We know where we are going. You know where we are going. We've been following you since 1997. You don't know where you are going. The only way you're going is your bank account. to see your banker. After Ruto, you've stolen our loot. That is where you are going. But he's saying, oh, we know where we are going. We know where Nani? And you're still clapping. Mnasika hapo mnapiga makofi. Raila Tiringenye. Agwambo Mbota. For Eda. Tibim Tabam. Kidiki Budi. Wacheni, this is mental problem. Are you normal? The same thing. Gachagua alichinja watu wakapiga matiba huko na familia yake 1992. Saizi yeye ndio one time. Gachagua ndio anachoma vizuri. Huwa nawasikianga saa nyingine hata nasikia kucheka. Kwa sababu Gachagua alisema ati Ruto is sijui nini, anaiba, ni mkabila. Gachagua anachoma vizuri. Gachagua anachoma. Anakuchoma anaenda kwa, anakuchocha, hakuchomi, anakuchocha anaenda kwa banki yake akimaliza. Ile kesi yake vile alikula 200 million, mbona waifungui tena wamfunge? Gachagua anachoma. Naangalianga hivi, naangalia. Nyinyi mutabumburishwa mpaka 2075. When your great grandkids maybe ndio watakuwa na hasira ya kutosha. Matiangi mchapakazi. Matiangi he streamlined the education sector. Muliona? Matiangi Ruaraka aliiba pesa. Yala. Bodies in River Yala. Lakini Matiangi mchapakazi. Abagusi. Mtu wetu. Meanwhile, Maraga cannot even get one kura. Now Maraga is a more straight, upstanding person than anybody. I would have a little hope if I see the Abagusi community rallying around Maraga. Maraga is, even though hata nafikiri hata yeye pia amewekwa hapo a distract watu. But I respect him for one thing. When the pressure was in his shoulder, he stood up for what was right. And I will always give Maraga his props for that. Nyinyi hamuelewi ni system. In order for these people to maintain this system, watazidi kuwacheza hivi. Affordable housing, I've given you 5 acres. Mujenge. Na hiyo eka yeye atakuwa analipa rent. Na ule Suleiman bin sijui nani. Nyinyi mnasema Raila is very benevolent. Ametupatia nyumba hapa. Ametoa mali yake akatupatia. Endeleeni. Oscar Sudi was hosting a ninio. Watu wanacheza pool huko, wanapatiana sijui milioni ngapi, sijui 100,000, sijui ndio ngapi. Which is your money? Ameiba. Hafanyi kazi yake. He even said he doesn't go to aendangi kwa ninio kwa bunge for what? Yako na kazi ya ukarabati. Bunge is a waste of time. Yana panga mambo yake huko. That statement alone should be enough to make you riot and remove him from power the same day. Somebody who you've elected to go represent you in parliament tells you that he has no time to go make laws and represent you. He has time to do ukarabati to make more money for himself. And he tells you in camera, na mtampigia makofi akienda Kabarnet. Alafu unakuja hapo unatuambia ati our choice is Maraga, our choice is Matiangi and Gachagua and Ruto. And we have hope that when we remove Kasongo and we put Matiangi or sijui Martha Karua, we shall have a wonderful country. Ni Ruto tu ndio mbaya. Tuondoe Ruto. Tukiweka tu Matiangi, mambo itakuwa salama. tuweke tu Martha Karua, mambo itakuwa salama. Let's just do that. Hiyo ndio shida. Shida ni Ruto tu. Shida ni Ruto. In fact, some people are even saying Nani Kenyatta was wonderful. Uhuru Kenyatta. There's some people today who say, look at the vibe. Uhuru Kenyatta was wonderful. During Uhuru tulikuwa tunaweza tukasijui nini. Na angalianga hivi nasema nyinyi. Uhuru Kenyatta is nice. He was good. Ako na vibe. Check the vibe. Hey. Uhuru Kenyatta. Hey. Nani? Nyinyi? Are you serious? Don't you find it? Saa zile siasa inachachachacha, unaona hao watu sasa ukabila ni huku na pale. Sisi kama watu wa Trans Nzoia, sisi kama watu wa Nyanza Western, sisi kama watu wa Central, sisi kama watu wa... Why can't you say sisi kama wa Kenya? The point I was making, in order for this country to actually move on, this constitution must mean something. The 2010 constitution must mean something. Mtu yoyote anakuja kukwambia ati hii constitution ni mbaya, should be amended, huyo mtu anafaa kunyongwa. They don't want to implement what's in place that was designed to hold people accountable. People to undertake their duties under the law. Sheria inasema article 1226(5) inasema mtu yoyote amepatikana ametumia pesa kwa njia halali anafaa kulipia hiyo pesa na nyongwe. Okay, it doesn't say kunyongwa, lakini anafaa kulipia hiyo pesa. So hizi madeni wakina nani wamechukua hizi za SGR, and okay, Mtata should not keep on making a lot of lies about SGR and this useless business person huyu ameiba mpaka siku hizi anajifanya tiendi amejua mambo ya economy. Jimmy Wanjigi, wacheni kutuambia mambo ya pesa. Ati sijui pesa ya SGR ilikulwa, sijui pesa, sijui Ruto is borrowing, sijui si wewe ndio ulituambia, wewe Jimmy Wanjigi, si ulituambia ati you were there when Uhuru and Ruto's your government was being formed. And how did you make your millions na familia yako? Si ulikula na Moi? Ulipata kwa unapata tenda kutoka kwa Moi. Sasa ndio unakuja kutuambia mambo ya pesa. We don't care mambo ya pesa. First, the power must come back to the people, the sovereign people of Kenya. That is the number one ninio. Wacha kutuambia pesa. Pesa itakuja tukishapata hiyo power back to the people. See power among the few people ambao wewe Jimmy Wanjigi, you're one of them. That money stuff will take care of itself if the people of Kenya get that sovereign power back in their hands. Tukisema mtu ananyongwa. Ameiba pesa hapa, anyongwe na ananyongwa. Not having people criminals like Babu Owino become atisandi ni maloya. Degree alisoma saa ngapi? That's why easy. Yes, when Okiya Mtata started talking about the money that we are losing and all this stuff, and it was cute, wonderful. But that means nothing if you don't have power. Power. Hiyo ni story too. Because, okay, you're telling us our money is being stolen by sijui nini, hizi pesa ya SGR imepotea, pesa ya sijui nini, Eurobond imepotea. What can you do about it if you don't have power? That is the question. Because it is about power. Ruto is stealing, knowing that nobody can do anything. Wakina Hanifa and Boniface Mwangi are talking about Ruto must go, but he knows that those are people who he has paid. Ndio wabumburushi hawa nini wakae tu wasifanye kitu, hawa majenzi wasifanye kitu. To keep on looking at them. He knows that even wakina Hanifa, they know they are fake. But the point is, as long as they've fooled the majority of the people, they don't have to worry about anything. Ndio maana Ruto hana wasiwasi, he's confident. Amevaa shati yako Kisumu, anashangiliwa. Because the majority of people have been fooled. And he understands he has power. So hata Jimmy Wanjigi asimame Spice FM aseme Ruto ameiba bilioni 100. Na huyo mwingine pia ongea aseme wameiba bilioni 100. It has nothing to do with, it does not move any needle. Ruto is not losing any sleep over that. Hata mumpigie simu muinject. Hata Gachagua aseme ati sijui Ruto ni mchawi. It does not move him. Because he has the power. So that power is what we need to take back and give it back to the people, because the Constitution says that we are the sovereign people of Kenya. The ultimate power lies with us. So if we take it back by demonstrating it as a people and representing ourselves directly as a people, that's when we can start prosecuting the Rutos of this world, the Railas of this world, the Martha Karuas of this world, the Matiangis of this world, the Jimmy Wanjigis of this world. Apart from that, that is just usarakasi. Unatuambia ati pesa imeibiwa. So what? What can you do about it with your billions, where Jimmy Wanjigi? Kwani unafikiria tujui hiyo pesa iliibiwa? That is what I mean. So for all of you people who are going to 2027, now ngoja 2027 mtasikia mkilialia hapa mnasema ati Ruto ameiba kura. Kwani hatujui anaenda kuiba? And he knows he's going to steal. Sini wakina Oscar Sudi wanawaambianga ati anaenda kuiba. Oscar Sudi said it. Kama haijatosha tutaongeza. Anawaambia na amekodoa macho. And there's nothing you will do. Hakuna kitu mtafanya. Mtaenda mwanze vita hapo dakika 2. Alafu wataleta UN wakuja wasimamishe mambo. Alafu mtakuwa na government of national unity. Na wakina Matiangi wote watawekwa prime minister, sijui minister of sijui education. Na mtaendelea, the cycle continues. Lakini saa hizi mmechengwa. Mnasema agombo turengenye tuko kwa serikali. Sisi Wajaluo tuko kwa serikali. Ukienda hata kwa nyumba ya Mbadi, unatoka kwa compound ya Mbadi, Mbadi ametengeneza nyumba yake na gold. Ukitoka hapo nje hata hakuna ninio, lami, na ako kwa serikali, pia Wandai. Na unasema uko kwa serikali. Wewe unaishi huko hata hawezi you can't afford even ninio. Bei ya unga. Gachagua amesimama, sisi wa Murima, watu wa Murima tumedanganywa. Hati we are misled. We've been sijui nini. Idiot. What about Kenyans ambao wengine ambao si wa Mount Kenya? Were they not being duped by the same Ruto? Sini you are part of the government. Vile Gen-Z walikuwa wanauliwa. Sini ulikuwa umesimama hapo, wewe ndio ulikuwa sijui vice president. Hati we've been duped. Shens kabisa. This is the kind of stupidity tuko nayo hapa Kenya. Tukiambiwa tushikane pamoja kama Wakenya tuondoe ama wajinga tu mnakataa. Bado mnaanza kusema tawe. Matako yako wewe. Tawe ilikusaidia na nini? Tawe ndio alikuwa anaua watu anda Uhuru Kenyatta. Ati tawe. Matao ya kuku wewe. Ndio kuhuba. Hii ni ushenzi tunafaa tuache. It's time to be patriotic and Kenyans to come together as a people, sovereign people, and remove these useless people. Nyonga hao wote. Suluhu ashike Martha Karua na mnyonge. Tutamzika hapo ninio Mount Kenya. Na hakuna mtu atamkumbuka. Na akina Boniface Mwangi, Hanifa arudishwe Somali. Na Aden Duale. Tuache mchezo. Kenya tuko hii ujinga wanasiasa wanatuchezea hapa mpaka revolution ifanyike. Popular revolution in Kenya. People's peaceful popular revolution. Moi arudishe zile nini alichukua. Kenyatta arudishe ile mali alichukua. Kibaki arudishe nini alichukua. Uhuru arudi kamiti. Na Ruto kamiti. Tukiwapeleka kamiti wanakaa jela 30 days tukichukua hizo mali wameiba. After 30 days tunawanyonga. Na Raila pia. Na Matiangi, munipatie Matiangi. You pussy tuache. Anyway, it's been 1 hour, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends, enemies and comrades. Put a notification on. So every time I come in, you can always find me there. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Do all the good stuff. Amana mnagani. Tuonane next time. Wacha mimi niishie. Fikiria what I said. Hii mchezo tuache. I'll see you guys later. Peace and blessings. I'm out.